Hello, 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 Angel here. Welcome to or back to my channel. Thank you for stopping, clicking and watching. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. And if you're new, thank you for being here. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a video response to a video that I saw by Fairy Light Tarot. And this, I think the hashtag is ID of a Tarot Collector. And I just saw it and I was like, oh, this really looks like a lot of fun. So I really fancied, jumping in and just, taking part. So here we are. So the first prompt is Tarot Fomo versus Tarot Zen. So Tarot Fomo is a deck that you bought without even thinking about it. You just press the buy button and you were happy. Or maybe you weren't happy, but you pressed the buy button anyway. Versus Tarot Zen, which is a deck that you put a lot of research into and really looked into what the deck was about. So Tarot Fomo for me is my first Kickstarter, which was this one, the Divine Arts Tarot by Hayley Kim. These are the backs. This was my first Kickstarter experience. I didn't particularly really understand the whole concept of Kickstarter, really. So I was in a total tiz to buy this when the release date came out. Now I feel I'd already seen the deck on the creator's Instagram page, I feel, because I'd already seen this card, which I fell in love with instantly, and I bought it basically for this card. I set an alarm on my phone because I knew the date that the Kickstarter was going to be released, and I was like a total maniac. I was like, I've got to back this deck. I've got to back this deck. I've got to have it in my life. So this was a total FOMO buy, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, that was my first Kickstarter and even my Tarot FOMO, I have to say. Let's take a couple more images so you can kind of get a bit of an idea of the deck. Two more. Yeah, so that was that one. Tarot Zen. That's a deck that obviously did a bit of research, and I did a lot of research into this deck because it was so expensive. This is the Reclaimer Oracle. Beautiful gilding on the sides, or black edging. I love that. I was looking into this deck because I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy this one, the Reclaim Oracle, or I believe it's called the Iris Oracle, maybe. So I watched a load of walkthroughs on this deck, and I had wanted to buy this for a long time, and I'd kind of looked at it, thought about it, dragged my feet about it and thought, no, it's such a lot of money. I'm gonna really think about it and wait. And that's what I did. I waited on it. And then I decided to, bite the bullet and do it. So I did a lot of research, as mentioned, watched a lot of walkthroughs and looked at the images, very carefully, and decided on this one instead of the Iris Oracle. Although I'm not saying that I would never buy the Iris Oracle. I find this deck, personally, this packs a punch, I have to say. It's, don't get me wrong, it's a gentle deck, but holy moly, when I first got this deck, I did some work with it, and I felt actually quite depressed, to be honest, afterwards. So it's a deck that I don't work with very, very often, and I have to be in a very specific frame of mind to work with this deck as well. So yeah, this was my Tarot Zen deck because I did a lot of research into it before I bought it. Okay, next prompt is Tarot Overload versus Tarot Fasting. So Tarot Overload is several decks in a category, and Tarot Fasting is only a few that you have in that category. Let's have a looky. Okay, so Tarot Overload, which I personally don't think I'm overloaded with, but I do have a lot of these kind of decks in my collection, this is the Queer Tarot. And the reason it's an overload, a Tarot Overload, is because I do have a lot of decks that are very colourful in my collection, because I love me some colour in my decks. So this is totally up my alley. It really, flicks my switch, lights my candle, floats my boat. I just love it. I love the colours in this deck. I wouldn't say I'm really a Rider-Waite-Smith clone kind of person. I don't really think. But I just love this deck. I think it's amazing. yeah, it's totally speaking my language. So for that reason, this is the Tarot Overload, because a lot of my decks in my collection are very colourful, but that's because, you know, I like me some colour. I'm a colourful person when it concerns decks. So yeah, that's the Queer Tarot. Great reader. Really enjoy using this deck. And yeah, it's what's the word? It's like speaking to a friend I haven't spoken to for a long time, and you just slot back into, you know, your friendship again. You know, it doesn't take any work. It just works, and it's just simple, and I love it. It's fantastic. Okay, so Tarot Fasting. That is a deck that you only have a few of in your collection. Now, I've pulled this one out for two reasons. This is I want to call it the Gorgons Tarot, but it's not called that. It's called the Gorgons Tarot. That's what it's called. I pulled this out for two reasons. One reason is it's black and white, and I don't have many of those kind of decks in my collection. And I've edged mine in red. And the second reason is because it's round, and I don't have many decks like that in my collection either. And yeah, so two reasons. So I've used these for moon readings before, and to be honest, this is kind of a forgotten deck in my collection, which is really naughty because it's, you know, I really enjoy the artwork. I like that it's black and white. I love all the patterns. Yeah, and I really like the depictions on the cards. I mean, it's very Rider-Waite-Smith. So yeah, I don't really know why I forget that I have it, to be honest. I do find it a bit of a pain in the bum to shuffle. And I did actually see recently, which maybe is why it also sprung to mind when I read this prompt. Oh, what's the person's name that did the modification on this deck? I'm going to write it in on the screen because I can't remember the creator's name or the YouTuber's name. And they did a modification where they sliced off the edges here. So it's I don't know what this shape is called. Oh, I'm explaining this very, very badly. This is a story that's going nowhere, I find now. I've backed myself into a corner, but they've cut off these parts here, so it's not round anymore. It's like, I don't know what shape that is. I don't know. Anyway, it looks fantastic, and it looks much more manageable to use. So, you know, that could be a possibility for this deck because it is a bit of a pain in the bum, as I mentioned, to shuffle. It's very big as well. That was totally unhelpful, wasn't it? It was. But I'm going to put the name of the YouTuber that did that on the screen so you can take a look at that yourself. I feel like I'm babbling. Should we move on to the next deck? I think we should, just to be on the safe side. Okay, the next prompt. I'm moving my mat. What's going on here? It's all falling apart. The next prompt is Tarot Study versus Tarot Teaching. Now, the Tarot Study deck that I decided to pick out was this one. This is the original, like the basic bog standard Thoth deck. Not that, you know, there's anything basic and bog standard about a Thoth deck. This is still in order, obviously, because this is my study deck. I really wanted to learn the Thoth this year, and I started last year. So this is going to be an ongoing practice. Yeah, so this is definitely a study deck for me. I could have also obviously chosen the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck. However, I feel now that the Rider-Waite-Smith is more of a study deck now than when I first started, because when I first started I didn't resonate with the cards at all. So I don't feel like I learned very much from the Rider-Waite-Smith in the beginning. I learn much more from them now that I've learned to appreciate the artwork. But the deck that I chose for Tarot Teaching is this deck, which I'm sure you've seen a squillion times on TarotTube. This is the Lightseers Tarot, and I call this my teaching deck because this is the deck I learned on. So this taught me so much about tarot and reading the cards, and not so much reading intuitively, but learning to, you know, to use the meanings of the Rider-Waite-Smith without using the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Does that make sense? The Rider-Waite-Smith deck was the first deck I bought, and then I even very closely after that bought the Ethereal Visions Tarot, and I didn't resonate with the Ethereal Visions Tarot at all. That got rehomed straight away because I just didn't like it. But the Rider-Waite-Smith stayed in my collection, obviously, and I used that for reference purposes. And then I bought this deck, which is the deck I actually learned on, because the artwork really resonated with me. So yeah, so that I would definitely say is my teaching, or was my initial teaching deck. The next prompt, let's just move some decks out the way so I can see what I'm doing. The next prompt is Tarot Me versus Tarot You. Now, I don't read for other people at all. I only read for myself. And therefore, I decided to look at this prompt in a different way. And I decided to use two decks that represent two very opposite ends of my, can I say tarot aesthetics? Or like my personality? Oh, I don't know. I'm hoping it's gonna explain itself when I show you the decks. So I decided to show this deck, which is the Tarot of Mystical Medleys. I've edged mine in all different colours. This is a very playful deck, I feel, and it brings out my, playful side, bit of my, inner child side, definitely, with the whole cartoon theme going on. Feels quite vintage, it reminds me of being a child and watching, cartoons after school, and even like on a Saturday morning. So yeah, so I would definitely say this is one end of the spectrum of my tarot aesthetic, if I can say that. Hopefully that's going to make sense. The other end of the tarot aesthetics is this one, Tarot Oscuro. Now this one I use for my shadow work. This came edged in the box, which is beautiful. Very, very, very unusual images here, and some things that are quite triggering, actually, I would say. Some cards that make you feel a bit uncomfortable and a bit like, I don't know really what's going on, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't really know why. So I would definitely say that these are two ends of my tarot aesthetic scale, which is not the prompt, but that's how I decided to work with this prompt, because I don't read for anybody else. I only read for myself. Let's take a couple more. I mean, look at this. I mean, I like me a tower card, but this is like, oh God, it like gets you right in the feels, doesn't it? It definitely gets me in the feels, and it gets me in an uncomfortable feel. I'm like, I feel uncomfortable on that card. Oh, but that's good. That, being uncomfortable is also a good place to be. You don't, you've got to step out your comfort zone at times. Yeah, so that's that. Oh, I'm squirming here looking at the cards, honestly. Ooh, anyway, let's have a looky here. Now we're on to deck mod versus deck purist. Now, a deck mod, I do mod my decks quite often, actually. I edge them more, I've even cut borders off, and even actually, what's the word? Made tarot decks that haven't worked for me into like oracle decks, which I've written my own keywords on. So I'm not, I'm not shy about that kind of thing. This is let me look at the book, because otherwise I can't say the name. And you're shouting at the screen because you know exactly what deck this is. This was the Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot. I've edged mine in green, and this didn't for me work as a tarot deck, so I totally lopped off all of the borders and the titles, and I use this just as a intuitive oracle. This is for my inner child practice. Yeah, love it. I so enjoy it as an intuitive deck. It didn't work for me at all as a tarot. I got so caught up on the titles, and I was like, I don't get it. I'm not getting it. But as an intuitive deck, this just like sings to me, so I love it. So that is my tarot mod deck versus tarot purist, and that, I've got so many decks I don't know what to grab. That is a deck that I've spoken about before. That is the Shadowland Tarot. Now, I know I've chosen this deck for the tarot purist prompt. However, and I feel bad saying it, this has got beautiful gilding. If you've got this deck, I think you'll know where I'm going to go with what I'm going to say next. I never use it. I think I've used it for one reading, and I'll tell you why. It's because this gilding is such a pain in the bum on the fingers and the hands when you're shuffling it. I really dislike it. So here's my question. Please comment in the comment section what you think. Should I mod or should I not? Or should I just sell the deck? Now, I've seen a couple of people, I've seen a couple of videos where people have, like, what's the word, filed this off. Now, I'm too impatient for that malarkey. I wouldn't do that. I would just literally lop off, you know, a tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of the cards and then re-edge them. But I don't know what to do. Please tell me what to do. Could you please vote in the comment section? Should I mod? Should I not? Let me know. Do you have this deck? Have you modded it? Do you use it? Do you have a problem with the gilding? I don't know. And, you know, I don't necessarily feel that this is like a Halloween deck either, really. I would totally use this the year round. So now I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe I should mod it. Oh, please help me. SOS. If I had a Morse code, I would send out an SOS. Please help me. Let me know. Should I mod it or should I just sell it? Should I move it along? I'm not a big seller of my decks. I've only sold 2 decks, you know, from my whole collection. So it feels a bit rude to, you know, like rehome. Anyway, yeah, let me know. Please let me know in the comment section. I'd be most appreciative. Okay, let's have a looky here. We're moving along. The next prompt is, the last prompt actually, clearly, is Tarot Order versus Tarot Chaos. Now, I haven't got any decks to show for this one, but this is Tarot Order is, you know, do you keep spreadsheets about your decks? Do you know where you bought them, when you bought them, how much they cost, and all that malarkey? Or are you a total, you know, fly by the seat of your pants kind of person? And that's a dead easy question for me, because I'm a total fly by your pants kind of person. And I don't particularly, apart from doing a deck dialogue with my decks, I don't do any kind of, you know, spreadsheets or anything like that. No, I don't. So when I get a deck in, at the beginning of the month, I tend to write down the decks I'm using for that month. And I even write down on the same page, so I know, you know, what kind of altars I have, so that I can look back and see how my practice has evolved and changed over time. I tend to write down what my intention is for the month, the decks I'm using for the month. Did I say altars I have? I'm not sure. No, I've kind of blacked out and I don't want to talk about. And I even write down any decks or any new crystals or anything like that comes into my collection in that month. So I can always go back and see, you know, what I've purchased. But I don't write anything about the author or how much it cost or anything like that, because once the money's spent, the money's spent. And, you know, I've got my enjoyment out of it, whether I've used it a lot or just a little bit. So yeah, that money's gone. I don't need to recoup the money. You know, I've had my enjoyment out of it, and that's all that matters to me, as far as I'm concerned. Not that I'm saying I'm rich or anything like that. I'm not, but you know, that's not important to me. And it doesn't really matter how much money I've spent on something. If it's done its purpose, and if I've, as mentioned, got my enjoyment out of it, then you know, that's all I can ask of it. And then I'll just move it along or sell it, which I haven't. I've only sold 2 decks as mentioned, but you know, things can happen in the future. So yeah, that's it. That's the tag. what else can I say? Not much. If you'd like to join along on this tag, but you don't have a channel, why not, you know, comment in the comment section. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts and your feelings and your choices. Otherwise, thanks for watching. You know, thank you for supporting the channel. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Take care, and I really hope to see you next time. Toodaloo.